Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Long time no see. I haven't filmed a video in about 2 months, and that's because I had my son 2 months ago. So for today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys my labor and delivery story. So it was September 11th on a Wednesday. I had a doctor's appointment scheduled for 4:35 p.m. at my OBGYN just to kind of see if I dilated, to see the progress, and to, fingers crossed, hopefully have my baby, because I was about to be full term. Technically, my doctor considered me full term. She was like, you know what, you're already at the end, you're 39 weeks, you're about to be 40, like, you are complete. So anyways, my boyfriend and I went in with the hopes of being dilated way more and just kind of my body showing that it was ready to have my son. So we went to the appointment and my doctor checked me per usual. I was not even dilated. If you guys would have seen my 38-week appointment update, I was only dilated a half a centimeter. So I was like, great, I'm gonna go in here and I'm probably gonna be like the same thing. So the doctor checked me and she was like, you are 2 centimeters. And I was like, that's all? That's it? I'm only 2 centimeters? I want to be like 3, 4, like close to labor. And she was like, well, I can do this thing called a membrane sweep. A membrane sweep is pretty much where they rub on your cervix, and I guess it kind of thins it out or sends a message to your body saying like, hey, time to have this baby. So she did that for me, and she was like, you may have a little bit of spotting, but that's normal. It's not 100% chance that you're gonna go into labor, but we're gonna hope that you go into labor. So me and my boyfriend in our heads are like super excited. We're like, we hope we go into labor. I did not want to be induced or anything like that. That was discussed with my doctor. We actually had an induction scheduled for, I believe, September 19th, which would have been a Friday, and yeah, September 14th, and we had to be there at 4 in the morning, I believe, so that way I could be started on Pitocin and just kind of get things started. So I was kind of bummed out when I heard that I had to have an induction, because I wanted my body to kind of do everything on its own, and I just kind of felt sad throughout the day. But after the appointment, my boyfriend and I were like, you know what, we're gonna walk up and down the stairs, we're gonna walk around the neighborhood, we're gonna do all these remedies. And keep in mind, I've done these remedies plenty of times. I've done everything that you could think about. Honestly, they may be myths, they may work, I have no idea, because they did not work for me. But I had a friend that was the same due date as me, and her daughter came 2 weeks before, so I was kind of bitter. I was like, girl, what did you do? And she did everything that I did, but like I said, everybody's birth and labor and all of that is completely different, so none of that worked for me. So now we're gonna fast forward to later in the night, after we walked, after we ate spicy foods, after we did all of those methods. So it was about 10 o'clock at night. My boyfriend and I always watch some Netflix, catch up on some TV shows. If you hear background noise right now, that's my son. He's in his mama room right now, and he's just awake looking around. So if this video is kind of choppy, it's because like I'm going to take care of him, but that's what that background noise is. So anyways, my boyfriend and I go upstairs, get ready for bed. We always watch Netflix, catch up on TV shows. So we're watching some like workout show or something like that on Netflix, like a challenge show. And my stomach starts to get like cramps. But I just thought they were Braxton Hicks. Well, that's what I thought they were. But I was like, whatever. I ignored them because I was like, I always get Braxton Hicks. They're not really contractions. So then later in the night, fast forward again to about an hour and a half, it's 11:30 at night, and my stomach starts to cramp even more. Just a little background, maybe TMI, but I never really had period cramps, so the little bit of cramps that I did have, they didn't even bother me because I never had an intense period cramp, so I was like, whatever. A lot of people say they felt like period cramps, but I don't know, I never really had that, so I couldn't really compare it to that. So I'm like ignoring these things, like, okay, whatever, it's just a cramp, it's just Braxton Hicks, they're gonna pass, they're gonna pass. So then fast forward again to midnight. So now it's September 12th at midnight, and my cramps were getting a bit more intense. Like, they were hurting, but I was still able to speak. And I know when you have a contraction, you shouldn't be able to speak through the contraction, because then it's like a real contraction. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, it's really hard to explain. But anyways, I was still able to like communicate with my boyfriend. I was like, hey, my stomach is hurting a bit more. And he was like, seriously? And I was like, yeah, it's kind of weird because they're like consistent, but not that consistent. So whatever, we continue watching our show, and my boyfriend has to work the next morning. He has to be up at like 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning. He had an early shift that day that he needed to leave early for work. So I was like, oh, you can go ahead and go to bed. I'll stay up. It's not a big deal. I wasn't tired. He's like, no, I'll stay up with you, whatever. So now it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and my cramps are coming more and more. So I kind of look at him. I'm like, these actually hurt really bad now. And so he grabs my hand and he's like holding my hand. I'm still able to communicate with him, but every time I got a cramp or a contraction, because they were contractions, I squeezed his hand and I was still like talking to him. He was like, it's okay, just breathe, like relax. And I was like, okay, whatever. I'm still kind of at this point brushing it off. I would say about 15 minutes goes by, and I look at him and I'm like, I think I should start timing these contractions because I feel like they may be real contractions. So I downloaded I had the Baby Center app. I actually still have that app. That way I could like insert screenshots of my contractions, because on the Baby Center app they do have a contraction timer. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pull that up so that way I can like read off to you guys exactly how far apart these contractions were coming. Where is it? Okay, so I started timing my contractions at 12:36 a.m. I thought I started timing them at 1, but I guess the pain was still there. I ignored it and just kind of went about like the night watching my show. So around from 1 to 2 o'clock, I'm still timing them. I have it on my phone showing me that I was timing them, and they were all over the place from 5 minutes to 6 to 3. So I wasn't too concerned. So this is where I start to get even more concerned about what was happening. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. My boyfriend goes to sleep like 2:15, 2 o'clock in the morning. He goes to sleep. I'm like, whatever. I'm just going to stay up another hour and kind of track them. So at this point, I'm getting up, walking back and forth to the bathroom. I think my vagina is like hurting. I'm like, maybe it's my underwear. So I changed my underwear and I put on my boyfriend's briefs because I kind of wanted something loose and more comfortable. And you know, us girls, we don't really have comfortable underwears. Like, we do, but you know what I mean. I didn't want to wear pants. I just wanted to be able to wear something that I could wear like around the house, even though it was like just his room and the bathroom. So I kept getting up, walking back and forth to the bathroom, sitting down, using the bathroom, thinking like, oh, maybe it's just, I don't know, I have to pee, I have a full bladder or something. So I'm just going back and forth doing that. My dumb self, I will insert this, I don't even care, I will expose myself. I go to the bathroom and I just take a video of my stomach, and I'm in pain. I'm having a contraction apparently, and you will just see my stomach is huge. I'm in my boyfriend's briefs. I'm in a tank top, and I just look like, a t-shirt, and I just look like a complete mess. So anyways, I'm timing my contractions, and now they're all 4 minutes apart, 4 to 3 minutes apart from the hour of 2 to 3 in the morning. So my boyfriend's sleeping. My boyfriend's mom is sleeping, and my mom is sleeping too. So I'm the type of person that I'm really quiet. I don't like to bother people. I just don't like to be a bother at all. And when I tell my mom this and I tell my friends this, they laugh at me because they were like, bitch, you were in labor and you're over here wondering not to bother people. You were having a baby. But anyways, so I go back into the room and I sit at the edge of the bed. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to try to go to sleep. So it's 3 o'clock in the morning, I turn everything off, I get into bed, and I lay down, I close my eyes, and I try to go to sleep. I could not go to sleep through the cramps and all the pains that I was getting. So I stood back up, and I sat at the edge of the bed, and I just kind of sat there. And I'm like breathing through all of these cramps that I'm getting, and I stand up, and at this point, I wanted to wake my boyfriend up and be like, I don't think I feel right, I need to like go to the doctor. But I didn't want to bother him, like I said, so I stood up and I went to the corner of our room where the door is and the closet is, and the closet shut and the door shut, and I'm sitting in the corner with my phone in my hand, timing my contractions, rocking myself back and forth because I was in pain and I did not want to bother anyone at all. So I screenshot all my contractions and I send it to my best friend on Snapchat, thinking like, oh, she'll be awake because she stays up pretty much every single night till like freaking crazy hours of the night. And I send it to her. She doesn't answer. And the reason why I sent it to her was because her mom had just had a baby like a couple months ago, so she obviously knew like signs of labor, I guess you would say. So I sent it to her, she didn't answer, and I'm like, oh god, this pain is getting kind of more intense. So I finally make the decision to text my mom, and I was like, hey, I think I'm having contractions. And she was like, how far apart are they? And I sent her all the screenshots of the contractions, and she was like, I think you should call the hospital and see what they say. So at this point, I get really nervous and I'm like, oh my god, this baby is coming today. Like, I have to call them, I have to see what happens. So she's like, keep me updated. So I go to the bathroom and I call the hospital and I let them know how I feel. They were like, are you tracking your contractions? Like, how far? Okay, so sorry about that. My camera cut off and then it was time for my son to eat. So I was like, you know what, let me make him a bottle real quick and I can feed him while I finish telling you guys about how he was born. So the last thing that I was speaking about was the doctors asking me like the nurses asking me how far apart they are, and I just kind of let them know like I've been timing them, this is how long they've been, and this is the time apart that they have been. So the nurse was like, I think you should come in and get checked out. And I kind of got quiet on the phone with her, and then I was like, okay, I will, thank you, bye. And I hang up and I just kind of stare at my boyfriend because I come back in the room and I stood in the corner again and I was just like rocking. And I stare at my boyfriend, I'm like, oh god, now I have to wake him up. So anyways, my mom's still texting me, not even giving me a chance to actually call the people, but I had already got off the phone with them, and she's like, so what'd they say, what'd they say? Because obviously she's my mom, she's going to be anxious and she's going to want to know it right away. So I text her and I said, they want me to go in. And she was like, okay, like keep me updated and try to keep me calm or whatever. So then I wake up Ramon and I was like, babe, we have to go to the hospital. And he woke up confused and he was like, what, or really? And I was like, yeah, we have to go to the hospital, like they told me to come in. And he was like, oh my gosh, like he starts grabbing everything. He's like, we have everything? I was like, yeah. So we grab all our stuff and my boyfriend's mom is sleeping, but obviously we need to wake her up to tell her that we're going to the hospital. So we get to her door or whatever, and my boyfriend goes in and wakes her up, and she comes out and she was all like confused too. And we tell her we're going to the hospital, and she was like, okay, like keep me updated. So we're leaving at 3 in the morning to go to the hospital, and there are 2 hospitals that I had the option of going to. So one of them is like 20-25 minutes from where we live, and the other one is an hour away from where we live. You okay, Papa? Yeah. So anyways, so my boyfriend was like, he was like, so what hospital are we going to? So I told him the further one, because the further one is way better than the one that was local. So he was like, are you sure that you can hold on with these contractions? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I can still talk to you. And like, everything's fine. I could just breathe through them. It's late at night. No one's on the road anyways. So we're on the way to the hospital, and it's pretty much in the city area. So we get to the city, and we're driving fast as we can, going through all the toll booths, and there's a cop. And there's a cop that's sitting in the dark with his lights off, and he pulls out, and I'm like, oh crap. And I look at my boyfriend, and my boyfriend goes, I'm not stopping. You're about to have a baby. Like, if he's gonna pull me over, he's gonna pull me over at the hospital. I'm like, oh God. So then the cop pulls up next to us, and like, I guess, I don't know if he noticed that like we were in a rush or like what the deal was, but he did not pull us over, thank God. Anyways, so now we're at the hospital, and we walk into the triage room. They collect all my information, they weigh me, and they ask me how long or how far I am, what's been going on. So now we're talking to the nurse, and they strap me up to all the monitors, and they're like, we're gonna check and see how far along you are dilated. So I said, okay, that's fine, like, go ahead, do what you have to do. And she checks me, and she was like, you're only at a 4. And I was like, oh crap. So I look at my boyfriend, and we're just kind of like disappointed that I'm only at a 4, just because at both of the hospitals that we would have like ended up at, if you're not a 5, they don't keep you. So the nurse knew like how far of a drive we drove to get to this hospital, and she was like, you know what, I want you to stay. She was like, I want you to stay, but I want you to walk around the hospital or outside of the hospital for about an hour to 2 hours. And whenever you get a contraction, rock back and forth and squat holding on to your boyfriend. And I said, okay, that's fine. Like, I can do it. Like, I'm able to do this. So my boyfriend and I do about 2 laps around the hospital. I'm rocking back and forth, I'm squatting, and throughout this time my pain is getting worse, the cramps are getting more intense, and we're walking for the 3rd time. So we only got halfway with the 3rd walking around because I started feeling a lot of pressure, a lot of pain, and I was like, I can't walk anymore, I can't walk anymore. And it's around 6:30, 6:20 in the morning-ish, and I was like, we have to go back. And it was okay for us to go back. The nurse was like, hey, if you feel any type of pain and you can't do it anymore, just come back and we'll check you again. So we go back to triage, they check me back in, and she checks to see if I'm dilated. And she was like, you are now at a 5.5. And I was like, oh my God, that's so good, because like I said, at both of the hospitals, they would have kept you if you're a 5. So at this point, at this time, the nurses are changing out, and the new like shift is coming in. So things are kind of crazy. I'm still getting my contractions. I'm able to speak through them. And I just kind of lay there like, what happens now? So I get a new nurse, and the new nurse comes in, and she's like, hi, I'm blah, blah, blah. I'm going to check you again. She's like, you're still a 5.5. We're going to see what they want you to do, if they want you to stay or whatever it is. So in my head, I knew that I was going to be staying regardless, because I'm a 5, and out of 5, they normally keep you. And plus we live so far away, so they had told us they were going to keep us anyways. So as we're waiting, I'm hooked up to all the monitors and everything like that. My boyfriend's still holding my hand through everything. I'm still getting contractions, and I'm laying there, and the nurse kind of like rushes into the room, and she was like, I need to put you on oxygen. The baby's heart or something like that was dropping or something like that, and you need to be put on to oxygen, and you need to lay on your right side or your left side. So they hooked me up to the oxygen, and at this point I kind of get really nervous. Like, my boyfriend could tell that I was nervous, and the nurses come in, and this other lady comes in too, and she's like, the doctors are gonna have you stay, we're gonna get you started with your IV. And it was just like 2 nurses in there just getting everything started, putting the IV in my arm and just having me hooked up, and it started to hit me that it was real. So at first, the triage room kind of looked like the room that you would have the baby in, but my boyfriend and I both knew it wasn't the room that we were going to have the baby in. So normally in this like aspect, they transfer you right away, because there were rooms available. So I'm laying there, and I'm like wondering, when am I going to get like transferred to a room? Like, what's happening? So at this point, my contractions are getting worse. both of our moms call and they're like, we're gonna come to the hospital. If you guys know, in previous videos I said that I didn't really want anybody in the room, but I'll explain like later on exactly what happened. But anyways, my mom came and my boyfriend's mom, they ended up saying that they were on their way because they pretty much had an hour drive as well to the hospital. So I'm laying there and my pains are worse, and the lady comes in, the nurse comes in, and she was like, do you want any medication in your IV or anything like that to help ease your pain? So like I said, my contractions were still bearable, but I was like, you know what, yeah, if I can ease the pain, then put something in my IV. Was that a mistake or not? When they put that medication into my IV, I kid you not, I was in excruciating pain, and at this point I was already a 6.5 dilated. Anyways, so I'm in excruciating pain. My boyfriend is like breathing with me, he's like counting with me, and at this point I can't talk through these contractions. So I'm like, when are they going to get me a room? When are they going to do this stuff to me? Like, what's going on? Like, no, I can't do this. And I kind of like start freaking out, and I still have the oxygen on me and everything. And the lady was like, we're getting all your information from your doctor right now, then we're going to transfer you up to a room. So within this time frame, honestly, I felt like it was years till we got transferred to a room. And my boyfriend was like, it really wasn't that long. It was just that like you were in pain. So anyways, the wheelchair comes and everything, and before they like put me in it, I'm telling my boyfriend, I'm like, I need an epidural, I need it right now. He was like, okay, I'm gonna tell the nurse. And I was like, no, I need it now. And the nurse was like, we ordered it, but you are gonna get it when you get into your labor and delivery room. And I'm like, oh my god, but I want it now, I want it now. And so they bring me up in the elevator to the room, and I had to pee. And let me tell you, I was contracting the whole time, walking to the bathroom. My boyfriend walked into the bathroom with me, and I was like, I need to pee, but I can't do this. I was like, oh my god, this hurts so bad. So I go to the bathroom, and the nurse comes in, and she's like, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm having a contraction, but I really need to use the bathroom, and I want an epidural. So at this point, I started to get mad, and I come out the bathroom, and I sit on the bed, and she was like, the epidural is coming, it's coming. And my hair was a hot mess, because in the nighttime or when I'm home, my hair is on top of my head in a bun. So that's how my hair was, and you can imagine it was all over the place. My bun was to the side, and I just looked like a hot mess. So my boyfriend tried to help me by moving my hair out of my face, but apparently I wasn't having it, and I jerked my head back, and I was like, no, leave me alone. And the nurse ended up fixing my hair. So I did get the epidural. I would say the epidural did not hurt at all. In my opinion, I have like a high pain tolerance when it comes to like needles and stuff like that. So it didn't bother me. It just kind of felt like a bee sting. But honestly, I was in much more pain than that. So I feel like I didn't even pay attention to the epidural happening. I would say the epidural felt cold, like you felt when the medication went through your body. And then my left leg was the first leg that went numb, and it like twitched. But then after that, I was completely fine. I was back to my normal self. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I'm experiencing all these excruciating pains, and all of a sudden this magical epidural took everything away. I was so happy, and I was just chilling, to be honest. So then I see our moms walk in the door, and it was still like taping down the epidural and just kind of getting everything figured out with the epidural. So they kicked our moms out into the lobby, and they came back in, and they were like so happy and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, you got the epidural? And I was like, yeah, because you know, back then. So yeah, anyways, they come in the room, they bring my boyfriend food, and we're just relaxing, watching movies on the screen. The doctors come in, and they keep checking me, and I'm dilating every single hour. So I'm just going to fast forward to where I'm actually delivering the baby now, because nothing special really happened throughout that time frame. The doctors were actually really surprised on how fast I was dilating, and just overall, nothing was wrong with me. I was just throughout eating a popsicle, drinking juice, FaceTiming my best friend, talking to my dad, just talking and talking and talking. I didn't even like take a nap or anything because I wasn't tired. I was more like excited to meet my son finally. My boyfriend took a couple naps. Our moms didn't really take a nap. They were just there like comforting me and everything like that. So time comes to push, and my mom and his mom both knew like that we didn't really want anybody in the room previous to like us making the decision then, and they were like, do you want us to stay? I was like, yeah, you guys have been here the whole time, like whatever. And honestly, I was so happy to like have them in the room, because I wouldn't have been able to get any pictures or any videos of my son and like the first moments with him and everything like that. I wouldn't have been able to experience or have any memories from that besides the one like in my head, you know what I mean? So I was so grateful and thankful like that they were there throughout the whole thing. So now it's 3 o'clock and it's time to push, and I'm very confused on how to push a baby out, and the nurse is just like, push with your front. And my nurses were so sweet, by the way, just had to put that out there, and they're pushing with me, and they're like, oh my god, we see the head and he has so much hair. And I'm like, oh my god, he's right there, he's right there. And my boyfriend was like, come on, push, you can do it, you can do it. And like everyone's encouraging me in the room to like keep going and pushing and pushing. I don't know how many times I pushed, but I did push quite a few times before he came out. So I'm pushing and I'm pushing, and the doctor was like, he's right there, just one more big push. So I push and they pull him out and they put him on my chest, and I was so freaking happy. Like I was smiling the whole time. I was like, oh my god, like in my head I didn't know what to say or anything. I didn't cry, but until I saw my boyfriend and my mom and the nurses, everybody was breaking down crying tears, and I'm over here so happy and like smiling and everything. And I look, and then I started crying because everybody around me was crying. But it was literally such like a beautiful moment. They put him on my chest, and I'm just like looking at him, and I'm like, oh my god, like he was inside of me. He like just came out of me. Like, what the heck is happening? Like, it was so surreal. So they start rubbing him down and everything, and the first hour they do skin to skin with mom. So they had him on my chest for an hour, and then they wanted to see if he would latch on. He latched on right away, so I was able to breastfeed him for about a good month. I'll get into that in another video on like breastfeeding to formula and how everything like kind of changed. But we did all of that. Of course, my boyfriend clamped or cut his cord because I did the delay clamping. If you guys don't know about delay clamping, then I would definitely look it up. They go ahead and they delivered the placenta. I don't remember too much of how they delivered the placenta, but I think they like pushed it on my stomach. I didn't have to push it out or anything. I know some people have to push it out, but I think they pushed it on my stomach and it just kind of came out. Honestly, I wasn't paying attention to that part because I was too involved looking at my son and just admiring him and just being so like thrilled that he was here. So anyways, then they take him from me, and my mom and my boyfriend's mom and my boyfriend, they go with him to get like weighed and, you know, all of that good stuff that they do for the baby. And the doctor is with me, and I was like, did I tear? And she's like, no, you're good. I was so happy to hear that I did not tear, because I honestly thought I did, and I thought that I would have felt if I would have teared, because I didn't press the epidural button when they told me to like press it again before I pushed him out. But get this, at the end of everything and we get to the other room, my boyfriend goes, I pushed your epidural button before you pushed him out. I was like, are you serious? He was like, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you weren't going to be in any pain. I thought that was so cute that he said that, but I'm like, damn, you could have at least told me you pressed my button. Like, what the heck? So anyways, now at this point, I'm waiting for my legs to come back and all my feeling to come back, because when you get an epidural, you're obviously numb for like an hour or two after. So my legs come back, and my doctor was like, before we take you up to the recovery room, we want you to use the bathroom. So I go into the bathroom with the nurse, and I was staring at her. I'm like, is this gonna hurt? And she's like, it may a little bit, because I had watched so many videos where they said they went to the bathroom and it hurt to pee or it burned, and I'm like, oh my god. So I did not want to pee. So then I go to the bathroom and I pee and everything, and she like cleans me up, and she just tells me like, here's a Perry bottle. When you pee, you just want to spray this down there for like the first 2 days or whatever it is, because you can't wipe, you can only pat. Even though I didn't rip or anything like that, she was like, you're still swollen. Okay? He's like sleeping. He's so cute. But she was like, you can't wipe right now even though you didn't rip or anything. Just pat dry because it's so swollen. You want to make an appearance? Do you want to tell your story too? On how you came out, huh, Papa? So anyways, yeah, so I was happy. They gave me and taught me all like the postpartum care when I was down there, and then we just... So I'm going to make a separate video talking to you guys about like my postpartum, how my body went back to normal, and just kind of everything, because most of the stories that I heard on YouTube, everyone that I've watched pretty much tore, and there's not really a lot of videos where women speak about when they didn't tear and how their postpartum was different. So I'm going to include that. But now we're back in the recovery room upstairs. They just kind of come in, they check the baby, they check you. They do this one thing that is so uncomfortable, but they want to make sure all the blood and everything is flushed out. They push on your stomach so hard, and they do it about like every 3 to 4 hours. They come in and they do that, and they check you and they check the baby. Let me tell you guys, that was so painful to me. Like, it was more painful than the epidural, and the epidural didn't even hurt me, and that was a needle going in my back. But for some reason, when they pushed on my stomach, that crap hurt so bad. But anyways, so at this point, we are just enjoying our baby. Our moms and my sister and just family are coming in to see the baby, and we're just like at this point one happy family to finally have him here, because we were waiting so long for him to arrive, and he did arrive on September 12th at 3:18 p.m. And that is my labor and delivery story. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be doing a separate video where I introduce him and his name and everything like that, so you won't be seeing him in today's video, or at least like his face, because obviously he was in the video. You hear him, you see the back of his head and everything like that. I know I'm teasing you guys. I'm sorry, but I am just kind of keeping him all to myself right now. But like I said, I will speak to you guys in my next video. Bye!